All right, this is section 8-5. It is called solving inequalities by multiplying or dividing. And this is actually a section that's a little bit different than the rest of them that you've done. So let's start with example number 1. Example number 1 says solve the inequality. This is actually letter A. It says 8x less than or equal to 40. All right, draw your equal sign line or inequality sign line. And the opposite of timesing by 8 is dividing by 8. So I'm going to do that on both sides. 8's cancel out. X is less than or equal to 5. And you're done. That is all. Let's try letter B. It says D over 2 greater than 7. Since this is dividing by 2, the opposite of that is multiplying by 2. So D is greater than 14. Alright, so those are pretty simple. Like I said, you know, this section is a little bit different, but ultimately you're just solving these inequalities the same way you do an equation. Every single thing you do is exactly the same to solve these as it would be if they said equals instead of less than or greater than. But there is one thing that is slightly different, and you're going to see that on the next, on one of the next examples here. So let's go to example 2. Number 2 says Ling earns $8 per hour, 8 times the number of hours. Which inequality can be used to find how many hours he must work in a week to earn at least? At least does not mean less than. At least means greater than or equal to. So when it says you want to earn at least $120, then you're going to say I want to be greater than or equal to $120. So that is the inequality, and that would be letter D on number 2. Alright, so tricky one, but basically that all comes down to understanding what at least means. At least means greater than or equal to, and the phrase no more than doesn't mean greater than, it's not more than, so it means it's less than or equal to. So those two parts right here would be considered notes to make sure that you understand what they mean. Let's go to example 3. Alright, and number 3, this is where these change on how you solve them. This is x over negative 3. This is letter A. X over negative 3 is less than or equal to 4. Alright, so draw your line. But now here's where this changes a little bit. You're still going to do the same thing. To get x by itself, the opposite of dividing by negative 3 is multiplying by negative 3. So I'm going to times by negative 3 on both sides. My negative 3's cancel out. It leaves me with x. On this side, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And this is where this changes. Alright, so you might want to write this down as notes. This is the gospel. You'll be using this the rest of your life for greater than or less than problems. But anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number, change the sign. So basically what that means is right here. Right now this says less than or equal to. Because I multiplied both sides by a negative number, I'm going to change that and flip it and point it the other direction. So instead of it saying less than or equal to, it now says greater than or equal to. So that changes, which means my graph also would change. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's negative 12. If I was to graph this, it'd be a dot colored in there, and I'd be shading to the right. I'll be shading everything greater than negative 12. Alright. So there you go. That is example number 3A. Let's go to 3B. 3B says negative 7x greater than negative 56. Draw your line. To solve this one, don't solve it any different. The opposite of timesing is dividing, so divide by negative 7. So it leaves me with x. And then because I multiplied or divided by a negative, I got to flip the sign around. Change the sign, flip it over. Instead of greater than, it's now a less than sign. And then negative 56 divided by negative 7 is positive 8. And that's my answer. If I was to graph, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Open circle there. And then I would shade everything less than. Since it says less than 8, it's pointing to the left. So I shade to the left. Alright, and that is the answer for 3B. Alright, best of luck.